Hello there, welcome to my views and news. Is there any way to remove Ethiopian PM Abiy from power? Or is he going to rule over Ethiopia forever? Which options are available? How viable are these options? A viewer in last night's live chat raised this question. He said, Sajid, is Ethiopian PM Abiy going to rule forever? I promised that I would do a video on that after analyzing the ins and outs of this question. I think there are 5 ways to remove Abiy Ahmed from power in Ethiopia. We'll have a look at these 5 ways one by one. We'll have a look at the possibility of the success or failure of these 5 ways to remove the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. First, we are excluding assassination and death from this analysis. Because obviously, assassination and death will remove him from power. I don't want to make it part of the analysis. Firstly, election. We know that in 2026, election will be held. General election. PM Abiy was elected in 2021. So after 5 years, in 2026, next election will be held. If he loses election, he'll have to go. But neutrally speaking, is there any likelihood of removal of Abiy Ahmed through electoral process in Ethiopia? It's not very likely. Why? Because the Prime Minister of Ethiopia has crushed opposition political parties. No opposition party is allowed to exercise its right of political activity in Ethiopia. Political parties are complaining that their offices are closed. If they're not organized, how can they contest election? TPLF has been just restricted to the extent of Tigray. OFC, OLF, you can say they are on the run, the leaders on the run. Other parties are small parties, regional parties. There is no one major party which can challenge the Prosperity Party in 2026. Even if election is held in a transparent manner. We don't know how election will be held. It's very likely that election won't be held in a transparent manner. As the Prime Minister has been crushing opposition, he would definitely pave the way for a smooth win. Election will be held in Ethiopia like elections are held in most countries of Africa, like in Djibouti, like in South Sudan, not South Sudan, like in Chad, like in other countries. So his removal through election seems to be highly unlikely. People would say, Sajid, maybe international community can put pressure upon Ethiopia. Maybe transparent election can be held in 2026. That, well, it's just maybe. Considering the ground reality, considering the current situation in Ethiopia, conducting a free, fair, transparent election is highly unlikely. So, first way to remove PM Abiy is through conducting election, which is not very likely. Secondly, second method of the removal of a Minister of Ethiopia is through armed struggle, that an armed group somehow manages to reach Addis Ababa, government will collapse. Federal government collapse. Does any Ethiopian armed group now have the capability to reach Addis Ababa? TPLF, TDF definitely not interested in marching to Addis Ababa. Ola has been marching towards Addis Ababa for years. Fano is a new entry, but largely restricted to the Amhara region. Fano fighters claim that they'll reach Addis Ababa soon, but if you analyze the developments closely in Amhara, you would know that yes, they have managed to destabilize the Amhara region, but they're nowhere near Addis Ababa. So the possibility of the removal of PM Abiy by an armed group again is highly unlikely. Second method. Third way to remove the Prime Minister of Ethiopia is through public protests. That a public uprising happens in Ethiopia. People march, they force the Prime Minister out of 4 kilo. A Keo-like movement. I think PM Abiy did two things when he came to power. He dismantled Keos. He tried to put in place some foolproof mechanism to protect himself and his government from a military coup. So a Keo-style street movement can definitely lead to the collapse of the government. But again, it seems that so far there are no signs of the launch of this movement in Ethiopia. Why? Because there is no one to lead. There is definitely anti-government sentiment in Ethiopia. There is definitely frustration. Problem is that there is no one to cash in on this anti-government sentiment. Leaders are either scared or they're abroad or they are disgruntled with politics. So no one is there to lead this anti-government sentiment in Ethiopia. We don't know about tomorrow, we don't know about 2025. Right now, the possibility of the start of a street movement against the Ethiopian PM Abiy is not very high. Third method of its removal is through some public uprising. Fourth method of the removal of the Prime Minister of Ethiopia is that some institution, one or more institutions, they turn against the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. The institution could be military, it could be parliament, it could be prosperity party, it could be Orthodox Church of Ethiopia. An institution decides to wage open war against the Prime Minister of Ethiopia. That one or more than one institutions, they just make alliance and they declare war. Covert or overt war against the Ethiopian PM. Orthodox Church has been weakened. Military under the thumb of the Prime Minister. Prosperity Party has divisions. But so far, we are seeing that PP is united, backing PM Abiy's narratives, his statements, his position, and his decisions. Parliament, just a rubber stamp parliament. Whatever PM Abiy decides, whatever the cabinet decides, Parliament follows it. There is no independence of Parliament, no independence of judiciary, media, two separate topic. But basically, there is no institution interested in removing PM Abiy now. But if military decides, it could stage a coup, though PM Abiy has put in place a defensive mechanism against a coup. Republican guards there. At least instability can be created, and instability could force the exit of the prime minister from power. Fourth possibility. Last possibility is that the PM of Ethiopia, Prime Minister Abiy, wages an external war against Somalia, war against Eritrea, war against some other country, and that war leads to creation of a situation in which the government has to go, in which the prime minister has to go. So these are the five possibilities, I believe, to remove the Ethiopian PM Abiy, which could lead to the removal of PM Abiy. None of them is going to happen in coming days, weeks, or months. So we can say it's a smooth sail for the Prime Minister of Ethiopia now. But will he lead Ethiopia forever? Well, intention is there. He believes he's God sent leader, sent with some purpose by God to bring about change in Ethiopia. He has this frame of mind. He says that he was that his mother predicted him, that he predicted that he'll be a king. So he has this frame of mind that he is here to rule. He is here to bring about real change, and change has not been completed. So he believes that he is here to stay as long as stay here until he achieves his objectives. What are his real objectives? That is what he knows only. I wouldn't say he will lead Ethiopia forever. You never know what will happen tomorrow. But signs are there that he'll try to consolidate his power through smart, clever moves by crushing opposition. I think the opposition parties one day, armed groups one day, institutions one day will have to sit, will have to join hands to form some strategies. Thanks for watching.